So when a writer's writing a book, if they're really a serious writer and they've done it for a while, they know how the territory goes. Pretty soon, everything is about the book. Literally. The book becomes real and the rest of life becomes almost dreamlike. Okay? And all of life becomes a metaphor for the book itself. And so what happens is it's as if the story that's emerging from you in the book begins to almost pull you toward certain events or those events towards you. So that, I'll back up a little bit. When writers write, when a writer sits down to write, they enter a dream world. They enter a kind of a specific kind of a dream state. They begin dreaming, and the story comes through them and flows onto the page. And then when later we buy the book and read it, we enter the dream that the writer dreamed.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
See? And so, but as a writer immerses themselves more and more in a particular book, they literally are in this dreaming state all of the time. And so I've done that where I've been in the middle of it. I go to the post office. I'm in line, and there's a guy in front of me that I know quite well. I've known him for like 20 years. And he goes, "Hi, how are you doing?" I look at him, I go, "Who are you?" It's like, and he goes, "It's me, Michael." And then all of a sudden I click and I go, "Oh yeah, sorry, I'm in the middle of writing." And time has no meaning either. So I'm so immersed in that I might be focused on some aspect of the book, for instance. I can't even think of an example right now. And I'm like struggling to solve some problem of the story that I'm telling. And I just am sort of in that spot. And for whatever reason, both my deep unconscious, my dreams, the things I encounter in life, they all sort of converge together to bring that solution forward. Whether I find it in a book on a friend's table, or else, a lot of times if I stop and I, vacuum the floor or something, or wash the windows or do something like that and change my focus, all of a sudden it's like the deep unconscious keeps working on it, and all of a sudden the whole thing just bursts right into awareness of its own accord. All writers talk about that sort of thing. And when I was doing woodworking and creating one-of-a-kind pieces, the same, I was searching for the form that would happen then too. So it gets to be this sort of dance where it's as if I and the outside world collaborate together to create this thing.
Do you feel like that's happening if you zoom out a little bit in terms of the Gaian heart and mind and kind of these little inspirations and I guess vibes that have felt kind of, and these different kind of waves that move through the collective in terms of kind of common points of harmony?
Me, I think about it in a very non-reductive, mechanical, rationalist, non-sort of monotheistic frame.
Yeah.
To me, everything's alive. I live in an animist universe. And to me, I'm just, that capacity that I had as a child is pretty much completely reclaimed. To me, everything has a personality and everything is communicating with me all of the time. And so I'm embedded in this field of interaction. I'm not like this isolated intelligence on a ball of resources circling around the sun, and there's this sort of connectivity, an emotional, but a kind of a feeling connectivity between me and everything else. So, and that's really actually an accurate ecological statement, because we emerge out of Earth itself into an ecological matrix, a living it's this living field of meaning that the earth has been generating for 4.5 billion years, and it generates all of these different forms. And every form that emerges is done so for an ecological reason. It's not happenstance. That whole "it happens by accident" stuff is what, weird rationalists make up, but that's not the way it works.
So could you maybe just talk about, I don't know if you're open to the idea, and even through poetry might be interesting, but the stages that you went through of moving from this kind of narcissistic place where tendencies in that area might be coming up to becoming more of this kind of earth speaking on behalf of itself in your life?
Yeah, well, the problem becomes with this
Yeah.
is that you're leaving the house that rationality built for you. And people can tell. Now, some people find it intriguing and they want to spend time and find out more about it, and other people become very offended, And so the thing that I didn't realize when I began is that I was becoming other, you see. Because living this kind of life, it's different than what the Western cultures are doing. It's more akin to what indigenous cultures that haven't had a lot of contact with the outside world do. They live in an animate world where everything is alive and communicating with them. And there's conversations that occur and sharings that occur. So for me to reclaim that sense, it's like I call it the journey back to wild water, because when I was very young, I spent a lot of time with my great-grandfather on a farm in Indiana, and we would fish and lay in this pond and just be with each other. And he loved me so much I could feel that sort of field of love surrounding me. And I kind of took it in me, this kind of soul essence from the 19th century of this man. And one day he leaned over and cupped his hand under the water and said, "Have you ever tasted this water? It's really good." And it's the first time I ever remember tasting wild water. But you see, of course, my mother caught me drinking wild water not long after and told me it would kill me. And so I began to be afraid of wild water. So the journey back to wild water is a long one, because there's this, we're trained to be afraid of what's out there. I don't really know why. There's lots of fantasies about that. But so when I started following this thread, eventually I had two warring realities inside me. One, this animist world, and the other, the sort of rational mechanical world that said, "Oh, we're just chemical interactions, and consciousness is an illusion." And
the vibe of the space between worlds.
Yeah, exactly. And there's really literally sort of this gulf that you end up having to cross.
Hey, welcome to Today Dreamer, a podcast and YouTube channel where we explore the interplay between inner and outer work, and we look at what cultivating the practice of presence within our lives feels and looks like once we clear the mind and open the heart. So this is just a short clip from a full podcast episode, which I'll leave a link to around here somewhere. And if you'd like to check out the whole catalogue of episodes along with guided meditations and what I have on offer, please head over to todaydreamer.com and have a peek. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and click the little notification bell so you don't miss any of the good stuff to come.